Hi again and welcome to the Laughter Craft. It's good to be with you again. Last week you may remember that we made a small, quick, easy project which was a magnetic canvas frame on which we sewed some buttons. And I did mine in the shape of a V. Did you have a go at it? Love to see your photos if you did. This week we're doing something a little bit larger and a little bit more involved, but not difficult. Just follow the steps as I show them to you. The video does go for quite a bit longer because I'm not going to speed up any of the videos. So if you just want to fast forward through the actual demonstration part, I will do that. Who wants to listen to me gabble on for ages? So do that and it will make more sense to you just to watch what I'm doing. So, want to see what it is? It is this. It is a paint pour done on a Lazy Susan. This particular Lazy Susan I made some years ago for my dad, and I decoupaged it with all sorts of vintage cars on it, which is what he wanted. After my dad passed away, I reclaimed it back and I did a paint pour in greens and blues, which was quite nice. But you may have noticed that this little living area of mine has got a lot of red splashes in it, so I thought I would demonstrate a paint pour using lots of red. It may not be your cup of tea, but you know what? I'm really happy with how it's turned out. So, basically, it involves whatever colours you want of water-based paint, some stirring sticks, and some other bits and pieces that you're going to need to watch the video to find out what they are and the right ratio, and how to get those cells popping on the surface of whatever it is you want to do your paint pour on. So, are you ready for the limerick? Here it is. If you have something which needs restoring, or it strikes you as just a tad boring, get some paints and some sticks, add some stuff to the mix. It's mostly a case of just pouring. That's why it's called a paint pour. Okay, watch it and see what I mean, and I think you'll really enjoy doing this one. So here's the joke before we start. I told my friend that she'd drawn her eyebrows too high, and she looked surprised. Short and sweet, I love it. All right, let's get on with the fun stuff. If it's a tile, a flat surface, or a canvas, they might sit it on top of a spinning cake stand that you use for when you're doing icing. This is already on a spinner because it is a Lazy Susan. But I'm not going to be spinning this. It tends to flick paint everywhere. I'm just going to be tipping and gently pouring like this when it comes time to get the paint to the edges of this Lazy Susan. So hopefully I won't be covered in paint, and neither will the table. All right, enough of that. Let's get on with it. So I've been putting on a good thick smear of petroleum jelly, aka Vaseline, around the edge of this underside of the Lazy Susan. A nice thick smear, because where that sits, the paint will just wipe off nicely. So there you go. That's completed that circle. Pop the lid back on. Wipe that off my glove. Okay, now you might see just under there I've tucked in some little Isopropol sticks, because when I tested the levels with my little spirit level, I needed to bring that far side up a little bit. So let's carefully tip this over without getting all that petroleum jelly off onto my clothes or anything else. Sit them back onto that those things that are propping it up. Test the level again. Okay, I need to come up again just a little bit more. Okay, chuck a couple more under there. Still not quite enough. It is important to do this because if it's not level, then the paint is all going to run to one side. That's not ideal. So it's worth taking the time to fiddle around and get this right. I had it right, then I turned the whole thing upside down, and of course everything's shifted, so I think just one other thing to add to this before I make the other colours is a dash of water. We're just trying to thin down some of the pigments in the paint, and it really doesn't take much, but I'll show you the viscosity that we're looking for. So give that a good stir. And then when you lift this stir up and see how the paint runs off it, that gives you an idea of whether it is the right runniness. Here we go. So that's looking pretty good. I hope you can see how that is running off in a steady stream. So because I'm using several different brands of paint, the viscosity of each one might be different, so I'm going to work each one until they all run like that. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to the other colours. So here are all my colours mixed. And as I said before, surprisingly, the colours have stayed true even though there is double the amount of Floetrol to the amount of paint. So what you're looking for with all of the colours, even though they've come from different brands, you can work with them so that they run off the stick at roughly the same rate in a thin flow like that. If the flow is a bit thin, then what you need to do is add a little bit more paint, not silicone or Floetrol or alcohol or water, paint to thicken it up just a touch, but do a little bit at a time, keep stirring and then check how it's running off. Okay, I'm happy with all of those. So I've already got my little blob of black in the middle, which is what I'm going to work with. Move away the paints, make myself some space. Over to my left I've got a space where all of these paint cups are going to sit, and I can reach across and get them. And I'm going to plop my little shape right here on top of the center of that black, which is fairly well in the middle of this Lazy Susan. Now I'm just going to check. Yep, I think that's a pretty good visual. I might just move, except I want to make sure that I don't disturb that Vaseline underneath there, and I also don't want to shift everything so it's not balanced anymore. So there we go. I think we're ready to go, and I'll start with this lovely red. Give it a little stir and pour down just a little bit at a time. Now this takes patience. You might feel like you want to fill that little shape up, but we are going to do one little color at a time. So that red, a little splash of that one on top. I hope you can see these colors distinctly because they're quite similar colors. This is a little pearlescent, almost an apricot kind of a red. Now I'm going to break it up with white because, as I said, I don't want things turning to mud. Now that's fairly full, so now what I do is I just carefully lift this little shape up, not very much, just to let some of the paint out. Now look at that, I'm getting cells already. That's amazing. I'm going to turn now to my blue. Again, just a wee bit. Because remember, the majority of this paint pour is to be reds. The green and the blue is to give it a real pop. So that's why I'm not adding a heap of those colours. And then come back with a little bit of black again, just to really make the other colours pop. Now we're going to go back to our reds, which are our main colour. And we're full, so here we go with another lift. Woo! Wow, you can see, I hope you can see on the camera, I can see the different reds and the pearlescent red too. And already, I haven't added any heat yet, but already look at those cells. Fantastic. So the other reds now, just be patient, don't pour too much. A little bit of this pearly one, go back with the white. Don't forget to give it a little stir each time you pick up a different colour. Give it a stir. I'll maybe go in with a tiny touch of black now. Now speaking of black, I'm noticing that the black that I poured on here before, the colour has come to the edge. So what I need to do, and this is important, please pay attention to this, I need to come back with this black and run a ring of it around the edge of the colour that I've poured. And the reason is, this is to facilitate this colour. Whoopsie daisy, I just bumped my little flower in the middle. This is to facilitate these colours spreading and flowing across the surface. Okay, so that's important. Alright, now this is full, so I'm going to have a little gentle lift. Don't lift it way up. You don't want everything pouring out. You just want to let some out, like that. Okay, and again we see cells popping up. That has to do with the viscosity of the silicone oil and the isopropyl alcohol in conjunction with the viscosity of the paint. Now look at how this lime and this blue is just popping up. It's just gorgeous. Right, I'm going to continue on now with some lime. Give it a stir, not too much, a little bit. And the blue. Go back to the white. Because if we just pour red onto the blue, guess what's going to happen? Purple. So we don't really want mud happening. We want to keep our colours true. So a little lift, boing, there we go. Out we go, and I'm keeping an eye that we've got a margin of black, so I'm keeping an eye on that. Back to our red. Gosh, I made so much red. Look at this. Enough red to sink the Bismarck. Give it a stir. Quite a bit of that red, because red is the feature colour of this. Top it up with this red. It's quite full now. Let some out. And just watch those cells appear. You can see them. I hope you can see them with the camera. It's probably quite shiny, but I hope that you can see that those cells, I'll turn it around for you a little bit. Can you see how those cells are just happening as if by magic? But it's really just chemistry. Fantastic, isn't it? A little bit more black, I think. A little bit more black, just to pop things off. Just a bit. What are we up to? Are we up to this pearly colour now? I think we might be. Let's go back to a dot of white before I add the green. Top it up with blue. And we're full again. So here we go. And then I need to add some black because I can see I'm out of black on the edges. So I'm going to move it across because it's kind of moved from the center. So here we go. Great. Back with the black again around the margins. Might give it a stir first. Sometimes the weight of that Floetrol is slightly different to the weight of the paint. I need to make sure that they're well mixed. And move that silicone out of the way. Move that alcohol out of the way. And I'm just running a ring of black around the edge, like so, just to allow the paint to move freely. Okay, what are we up to? I think we're up to a little bit of white on top of that blue. Nice. A deep red again. Tomato red on top of that. Pearly red on top of that. And a lift. Wow, it's amazing. Touch of white again. Green. Blue. That's quite a bit of blue, but anyway, that's okay. A little bit of black in there again to break it up. Maybe some white on top of that black. Why not? No real rules to this, you know. It's one of those creative things. Are we ready for a lift? I have a margin of black all the way around. Whoopsie daisy, I've got a bit of foil there, don't need that. And here we go. I just love watching that spread. And you'll be amazed in a minute when we get the heat on it. You'll see cells popping up everywhere. Way more than this. Let a little bit more out. There we go. Okay, what are we up to? I think we're back to our reds. Quite a bit of red that time. I think I'd add the pearly one in next, the pearlescent one. Can you see how pearly that is? It's really pretty. It's kind of almost a peachy, pinky colour. But it's in the red family, so it got an honourable mention. Here we go with this one. And a dash of white, because I can. Alright, here we go. We don't need to do too much more because it's almost enough to be spilling over, but I'm going to keep going. I want to make sure that it does go over the edges generously and we don't have to sort of come back and touch it up with bits that have been missed. Back to our white. I just realised, you know, I didn't make up the gold, but, you know, maybe that would have been a bit too much anyway, so it's alright. I think the green and the blue and the black really break up the red. I don't think we need gold at all. Lift. How's that going? It's spreading out nicely. Alright. What I'm going to do, I find that when you get to the centre like this, if you leave a big splodge of paint in the middle, what you're left with is a big splodge of paint in the middle of the thing. So I'm going to add just a dot of green like that. And let's see, when I lift this up, completely take it away, and I might even do this, just because. And put this over here on the paper, out of the way. Alright, move everything out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to tilt. I could spin. If I spin, I think I'll have a little spin. I don't want paint to go flying. It's not really doing it, is it? It's not really doing much. So I'm going to tilt. Without getting my fingers underneath and covered in Vaseline, I'm just going to tilt. Now, often people don't like to tilt because it kind of distorts the cells, but in this case, I haven't got much space for spinning. And people who do the spinning method usually have a really decent area to do this in that has proper containment for the paint to go flying. I don't. I just have my little table and my polished jar of floors, which I do not want to get this paint on top of. One of the reasons why we are going to add the heat gun in a minute, two reasons really. One is to pop any air bubbles, and the other is to activate the silicone chemical reaction with the paint and make more cells. So I just need to tip over on this side and make sure that this paint goes down this side. And there it goes, very slowly. Brilliant. So it's all covered. I hope that you can see that. I have got paint all over my hands. I'm going to carefully take these gloves off and operate the heat gun. I just dropped a black dot on there, but that's okay. Alright, I don't want to have this on blast where it blows the paint away. It's just hopefully going to be on low heat and low speed so that it just gets some heat. So keep an eye on what happens with this paint as we do this. And I'm holding it up about a couple of hands distance from the surface. I can see some little cells popping up already. Can you see that? Don't spend too much time. You don't want to bake the paint, burn it. You just want a little bit of heat activating the chemical reaction. Can you see all those cells that we didn't have before? We had lots of cells just because of the mixture that we had. Now we're getting cells, extra cells, because of the heat being added. Now I'm going to very carefully, without disturbing the Vaseline too much, I'm going to carefully try to spin this around a little bit so that what I'm working on is the bit that's underneath the camera, and you can see what's happening with these cells. I really like the colour combination. It is mostly red, which is what I was going for, but it has lots of contrast with the pops of green and the blue, which is a lovely, brilliant lapis lazuli blue, and the pearlescent pinky red, as well as the little bits of black and white that are causing everything really to pop out. I'm liking it. Turn it around a bit. It's that gorgeous red there, that lovely deep red. Let's see if we can get something to pop out of that, because it's mostly just the one colour. But you never quite know what you're going to get, so it's a little bit like a, proverbial box of chocolates. You don't quite know what you're going to get, but that's okay. I'm never disappointed if I don't get cells. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. Not much is happening in that little red patch, but you know what? If that wants to stay red, it can stay red. I'm happy with all the other colours that are really yielding some lovely cells. Lovely circular cells. That's what you look for. Although I don't mind those stretchy ones too. The stretchy ones come because of the way that we tilted that Lazy Susan. We tilted it to run the paint over the edges, so that's okay. I'm happy with that. I don't mind that at all. And even as I'm running the heat across here, you can see that? See the reaction there with the with the little cells popping up. It's quite amazing. If you don't want to go and buy Floetrol from your hardware store, you buy it where you buy your paints, because it's a paint conditioner to make your paint flow freely when you're painting on the wall or whatever. It's a paint conditioner, and it really does help to do this. But there are other shortcuts and cheaper ways that you can do this paint pouring, and you can use school glue or white glue, especially if you use the Elmer's Glue All, G-L-U-E-A-L-L, Glue All, and you can make a mixture with that and use it instead of Floetrol, and it works quite well. I just like the Floetrol because it's already mixed. I don't need to thin it down with water like you do with the Glue All. Oh, now I'm getting something in here. Have a look at that. Can you see? That's breaking up now. That partly has to do with the drying time of the paint. If some of the paint is slightly thicker than other parts of the paint, I did try to get it all even, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get sort of a cracking effect, and I quite like it. So I'll spin it around a little bit more and we'll have a look at what's going on in the other parts of this. There's some more of that breaking up. Now this might be a bit too red for you, but that is what I was going for. I was going for a mostly red Lazy Susan with other pops of colour. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm happy with the way the cells have formed, and I hope it inspires you to have a go as well. You don't need to go out and buy a Lazy Susan. I actually made this Lazy Susan years ago for my dad, and after he passed away I took it back, did the green and blue paint pour on it, and now I've changed it up again. You can practice on some tiles, or even on I don't know, maybe on a canvas. You can do it on a canvas, but whatever you do, you need to prop it up. This is obviously propped up because it's got the part underneath with the ball bearings in it, so it spins around. So if you just had a canvas, you couldn't put it on here flat, because when the paint goes off the edges, it's going to stick to the table or to your plastic or whatever. You need to prop it up, even if you use those push pins or something to give it little legs. You need to prop it up so that the paint can drip away and not stick to the bottom. And make sure if you need to, that you use something like the petroleum jelly, especially if it's a wooden base like this is, so that when this is all dry, I'll be able to come along and wipe off all those lumps of paint. They won't be stuck on there. That's enough for now. That's plenty of heat in there, and I'm just going to let this dry now. I'm really happy with that. So that's it. A paint pour. In this case, done on a Lazy Susan. You could just about use any surface that you want, like a tile or coffee table. Any hard, firm surface that you would normally be able to paint is something that you can do a paint pour on. Make sure the surface is level, because the paint is obviously going to be poured on, and it needs to be level so it doesn't just kind of run off one edge. So I show you how to do that in the demonstration as well. So there we go. I hope you have a go at this. Put your pictures up underneath this video, and we'd love to see what you do. In the meantime, have lots of fun crafting, whatever craft it is that you do. Have lots of fun laughing, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.